Hello everyone and welcome back. Time to get into it. Time for Blood and Thunder. And our first primal. We really should think of another name for them. Because they are primals, but well, I suppose they're no different really. Anywho, Gaia is lost in thought as she gazes towards the silent giant on the horizon. I know what it's like. It was the same for me. But I was lucky, because Thancred freed me from Yulmore, and I had a chance to see the world. More importantly though, I met all kinds of people, and they taught me not to live in another's shadow, but to be myself. Maybe one day you'll have that chance too. Said your piece, have you? One day? What's that supposed to mean? I don't know how the great Oracle of Light sees such things. But for someone like me, who's only known life in Yulmore, there was no tomorrow. There was no future. Only the here and now. And while we waste time on these meaningless conversations, I feel each moment of my life slipping away. Time. It won't wait. Not for me. Not for anyone. I don't know how much longer I can hold on to who I am. I'm sorry, Gaia. Gaia? Huh, that's probably not even my real name. It isn't? When Thancred asked me for my name, I couldn't remember. That's when the fairy whispered to me, Gaia. But if you grew up in Yulmore, surely someone there must know who you are. Everyone I once knew either disappeared or been turned into sin-eaters. Those whose faces and names I still remember, that is. In the end, we found not a single person who so much as recognized me. As far as I can recall, I've never been the most sociable person, but still. Well, even if it's not your real name, I think Gaia sounds lovely. If you're happy with it, then that's what I'll call you. And if you're willing, instead of Oracle of Light, please call me Reen. It's not the name I was born with. That's long forgotten now. But the one the people whom I consider family gave me. Is that so? Well, as much as I'd love to keep up this chatting, there's something that's bothering me. I thought the fairy would have reacted to Eden in some way, but so far nothing whatsoever. From what I gather, it wasn't until Eden started moving that I appeared out of the blue. Perhaps if you were to actually try flying it somewhere, the fairy might break its silence. If you've got elements to restore, or whatever it was, why don't you hurry up and get it over with? At once, Your Majesty. It may be best to resign ourselves to her mannerisms. A good thing we're not wholly unfamiliar with attending nobility, given certain company in the science. Of whomsoever doth thou speak, I wonder? All right, everyone. I think we've talked for long enough. If you're ready, let's make our way to Eden. Gladly. Let's go find us a Thunder Primal. No, nothing else yet. Just had to check. proceed to Eden's core. Hello. Reen's little chat with Gaia reminded me that, well, for all our obvious differences, there are things we have in common. I too grew up not knowing who my parents were. The day Louis Swan gave me the surname Waters was one I'll never forget. Years later, it was under rather more desperate circumstances that I gave a certain young girl the name Minfilia. Little did I know that it would end up crossing time and space, taking on a meaning I could never have foreseen. It came to be passed on, one girl after another, binding them to a fate not their own. In a sense, it may be said that I chose not only one, but two names for Reen. But by whatever name she is called, she is truly her own person now. That's a very interesting way of looking at it. And as central to our lives as names are, I believe that it isn't the name itself, but the bonds it symbolizes that matter most. I'm Mary's. I think they're slowly coming back to me. My mother and father would constantly blather on about how the flood of light could return to end the world when we least expect it, and that we should live each day as though it were our last. They would often say, "I wish this moment would last forever." That was until they were selected for ascension by Lord Forthray, and were never to be seen again. Since I have no other relatives, or even any close friends to speak of, I was left alone in the world. Oh, a past like that hardly seems worth remembering, does it? I have done some reading about the land swallowed up by the flood, but it's no easy task to find locations with a dormant element. I'm glad we have Urianger to point us in the right direction. Yeah! Following the initial changes wrought by the release of water and earth, the empty have displayed no further signs of alteration. Stability, some may call this and be satisfied, but in truth it is passivity. A passivity stemming from light's ever-pervasive presence. If we are to break the status quo, we must needs employ a catalyst, a third element, that shall rouse and stabilize the unleashed energy in activity. I wonder what catalyst we would have to be active asunder. Therefore, I propose lightning. Well, thunder and lightning work. So the primal would be Ramu, yes? From what I've heard, he's a guardian of the forest, and not particularly keen on conflict. But you've actually fought him, haven't you? He's half-beard, half-beard, and another half-beard for good measure. I spent most of the time chasing after orbs, with varying degrees of success. He's half man and 3/4 beard. Oh, beard. Ah yes, Thancred mentioned that he more closely resembles a person than a beast, unlike most other primals, and apparently he tends not to move about much. I'm glad to see our lessons have paid off. Well, it's like you say, if we want to call forth an accurate representation of the primal, I should picture it in my mind as clearly as possible. At the very least, it's worth a try, but the rest is up to Alex. In order for this to work, we need to actually fly somewhere, yes? So rather than sitting in one spot while you exchange anecdotes, why don't you get this blasted thing moving fast? One must admit, the suggestion is not without merit. Reen, might I suggest the Gandorf Thunderplains as our next location. I mean, the name in itself. And that's Gandorf, not Gan. I know it looks like Ganondorf. It's hard not to think that. These plains, it is writ, were perpetually bathed in storm clouds, and the only source of illumination, the ceaseless barrage of lightning. The ambient ether that lingereth there shall provide ideal conditions for the summoning. Then that's where we're headed. Come on, Eden, we've got a job to do. This should be as good a spot as any. Alright, Alex, whenever you're ready. Memories of Ramun flash through your mind. Beard, 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 beard. Sylph. Spin, spin, spin! Eden's verse fulmination is now accessible! Beard, beard, beard. Even if Reen has done a good job of memorizing the description of Ramun, it will likely make little difference to how he manifests. After all, it's your memories that shape the summoning, not hers. Or is it? The area is saturated with lightning aspected ether. This I am able to confirm. In addition to the primal, be thou wary of stray bolts that may occur as a result of our activity. Oh, great. I don't think I've ever been anywhere like this before, and I'm not sure I'd want to come back. Too dreary for my liking. It would be nice if our next destination is a little cheerier. But I suppose I can't exactly choose if I want answers. Why is he looking at me? Why are you looking at me? All the lightning that's fallen here over the years has left the ground covered in craters. But don't worry, Eden will give you something more even to stand on. Alright! Probably going to be a while I've got to wait for this, but... there we go, Eden's verse, fulmination. Oops. And since I've got to wait, oh, no, didn't want that. Although Gaia, the girl who previously launched an attack on Eden, has fully awoken, her amnesia prevents you from learning much of her origins. For the time being, the best course of action appears to be continuing with efforts to restore balance to the ambient ether of the empty. The next element is lightning, which once ravaged the Gandorf Thunderplains in the time before the Flood of Light. The memories of Ramu give corporeal form to the crackling ether energies drawn forth. Alright, well, I'll see you in a second for someone's butt. Ramun. Yeah, see you in a sec. Hey, it only took way too long. Eden's verse fulmination. Let's quickly get into it before anyone jumps out. Alright, Eden's verse fulmination.
There's no turning back. Get ready.
Voice acting. Heritor of Levin, Ramun. Now you see the problem.
So, this is Ramu.
Not quite. That's more... I mean, that's a lot of things, if I'm perfectly honest.
Thou wouldst forge this world anew? I, Ramu, shall test thy worth. Spears of lightning to me! May 11 boots strike thee down! From the storm of my judgment, thou shalt not escape. The rolling of thunder foretells thy doom, mortal. With all my might I smite thee! Swift as thou art, I am swifter still. O noble beasts of Levin, may none withstand your charge. Neath rolling cloud, unrelenting lightning doth strike! Arbiters with me. I have taken thy measure, bringer of light.
And down goes the Lord of Thunder. So that wasn't too bad. You may have noticed a couple of times I got quite lucky on those sideways horses. Wow, I got one thing. I could have swore I saw a lot higher rolls. Doesn't matter. Nice. I had my eye on Gaia the whole time you were fighting Ramun. And besides the sort of reaction you might expect from someone watching you take on a half-man, half-flying horse thunder god, I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. The fact that Eden itself also showed no signs of being affected by her presence can only be a good thing. But I'd understand if Gaia herself were more than a little disappointed that she's no closer to the answers she seeks. Once again, 'twas a most superlative display of thy apostles, which I can never remember. I don't think it's pronounced that way, whatever. Now I could not fail to notice that body did not belong to Ixion, fabled equine embodiment of lightning. Hast thou perchance encountered the beast? Oh, that body did belong to Ixion, yeah. Yeah, my memory's not what it used to be. So, that thing was created based on your memories. Maybe there's a way we can use Eden to summon the fairy like that. That's not quite how it works. I can summon a creature based on my memories, but I can't summon an actual creature because it would just be a copy. I mean, I could summon a crop because I've got lots of C's in this. I could summon a copy, but that's not really what you want. I thought I was prepared to expect anything, but I didn't expect Ramun to turn out quite like that. Appearance aside, he was quite aggressive as well. The sylphs belief in him as a kindly guardian clearly makes a difference to his temperament. Anyway, I'm just glad it's over. Let's get back to the camp and see if anything's changed. That's a very interesting point. Well, I know of him that they think of him as a non-aggressor, and he has acted non-aggressively towards me. The only real chances I've had to encounter him ended up in combat, so I wouldn't have the same belief in him as a non-combatant, so that wouldn't make a difference, especially all the things I've been through. So I can pick one. What we've got: skill, spell, tenacity, piety. I guess we'll get some spell speed. Bam, 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 bam. Ah, the crystal's a different colour, but apart from that, it all looks the same. It may look the same, aye, but it feels different. The air's grown slightly more humid, as it does before rain. I have to say, I'm not exactly prepared for wet weather. If Eden can control the elements and so on, can't you tell her to send these clouds somewhere else? Speaking of which, I'm not very impressed with its so-called powers. If changing yellow crystals to purple is the extent of its abilities, it's no surprise the fairy didn't bother showing up. I hope that whatever's next is more worthwhile. Rather than influence the ground beneath our feet, Eden has brought change to the firmament above. And yet 'tis clear that a more dynamic element is required for the neutral cycle of precipitation and evaporation to be complete. So we need movement. Would wind do the trick? Most certainly. It seems that we have a plan. Let's not dwell too much on the effects of each individual element, but instead focus on seeing them all restored. The power of an oracle, not to be sniffed at, it seems. All my life you were a constant companion, your voice ever seeping into my mind. Why then, of all times, did you abandon me? I would have preferred if you had put, why then now, of all times, did you abandon me? Deaf even to the crashing of thunder, or were you simply biding your time? Nice. One plan fails to achieve the desired effect, so you move on to the next with minimal brooding and prattling. It seems we're finally learning. I'm not sure what I was expecting to see after restoring the lightning element, but I did feel a little disheartened. Still, as Thancred and Urianger say, there are changes taking place, even if they're not immediately obvious. As much as I bemoan Urianger's long-winded explanations, we'd be lost without him to take care of all the etheric science and whatnot. Obviously, I'm not quite sparing with my praise. Obviously I'm quite sparing with my praise, as I wouldn't want it to go to his head. So next up we have... Ooh, Into the Firestorm! Ooh. Yes, we know what's coming next. We've had one little hint, but we'll see soon enough that there's a bit more to that. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one for Into the Firestorm. Bye-bye. Oops. That's better. Bye-bye.